Welcome back everybody, it's DestinysJesus here. Today we've got another part of our 3-level series. We're going to be looking at the DreamHack finals that just happened this past weekend. Hopefully give you some really good tips for the solo cash cups coming up, as well as the solo FNCS. We're going to be taking a look at a beginner player who just barely missed qualifying by about 50 points in both heats. A semi-pro player who missed qualifying for finals by about 4 points, they're extremely close, which is Slove. For our pro player, we're looking at Teak, who won the whole event and took first place. He's been extremely consistent in solos for a long time now, and we're breaking down what he did to put himself in such a good position into going into endgames, as well as breaking down a full load of selections of games. As always, I'll leave a bunch of timestamps up that you can pick through if you just want to skip to a specific portion of the video. I hope you guys enjoy. At Slove's early game, he always contested his campsite mountain. In this game, he actually directly contested the guy in the building who landed before him. Of using good fundamentals of actually knowing where the gun spawns, he was able to land and get the SMG before the guy, and that resulted in a free kill. Having a spot like this where you can either re-queue because you die instantly, or you can just get straight into a good endgame where you've already got Surge and a free point from getting contested is really useful. A lot of times people make the mistake of contesting and then disengaging, and you're much better off just taking a fight early and getting it out the way, and either winning or losing it and then getting to the next game. For our beginner, her main drop was Sweaty Sands Alfring Hotel. This is a fine drop spot I have no problems with if it was early in the tourney when the elo lobbies are lower. However, towards the later stage in the tourney, having to rely on such a big 50-50 against better players can result in more deaths or spawn, and that doesn't really matter because obviously the kills outweigh it, but the fact that you don't get endgamers as consistently, which is where the majority of points in DreamHack format come from, is a big issue. For our pro player Teak here, this house is west of Steamy uncontested every single game. This is a massive part of his success. He basically never fought off spawn or died early in the tournament, which allowed him to get endgame consistently, and all he had to worry about was getting Storm Surge mid-game, which we'll see in a second. A massive part of Teak's success was how concise and efficient his mid-game was. He never took unnecessary damage or had inefficiencies in his looting path. He looted all his houses as quick as possible, then came to this gas station to cap his mats, then he rotated up to the weather station. Then for mid-game, he'd rotate down towards edge of first zone. This is very important. He never went too central on first zone. He took his time, got Storm Surge tags, claimed a bit of map control for himself, had a little space to work with, and then as second zone appeared, he'd rotate towards dead side, as you can see here, around the edge of the map. Then as soon as third zone appeared, after second had closed, he went straight for center third. This is really important because it allowed him to guarantee fourth zone, and it basically saved him a lot of times in mid-game where he'd be getting his shield tagged, as he just instead plays that dead side edge to himself. A big mistake that a lot of beginners make during mid-game is trying to over-rotate or go center too early. Our beginner in this example actually does something really intelligent, is making you just staying at your POI, taking your time, making sure your cap mats and everything, possibly upgrading as well. She waited for zone to close, and then as soon as zone popped up north just like so, they rotated completely up through the water here. It's basically a free rotation with the boat, and then got completely dead side up top north here. This set that up really nicely, means there were cap mats going to second zone, and it has an easy chance of getting third zone through the uncongested side. This is what the mid-game looked for our semi-pro Slove, who just missed finals. He'd rotate south, get a couple extra chests. Instead of taking a fight here, he'd rotate back north to avoid anybody there. He basically crossed back where he already was. He'd get a couple extra chests, fish along the coast here, get the grotto chest, and then rotate through. This is a small mistake that I noted that cost him quite a lot of shield in his mid-game, was he rotated through the congestion at this bridge, over through these hills and down the river, and then again through Frenzy at the POI. A lot of people are going to rotate towards any of these natural choke points on the map just because they can refarm, they can get extra loot, and you want to be avoiding these. What I think he should have done was go north over this hill, head north over this little island here, and then go far north again. This would mean that he'd basically completely cut out all of that congestion in the middle of the map, and he already had a lot of good mats and shield that he didn't need to actually go into those POIs, and instead he just wasted mats and he wasted his shield from getting tagged, since other players need Surge in more stacked games. Coming into moving zones, you can see how Slove rotates this. This is a big mistake that he does to begin with, is he's trying to recycle movement on Ultimate Logan. This is something that's really hard to do, unless you have floppers and you can obviously build up in Storm, but then you're likely to get solo focused. If you're going to try to recycle something, you need to be higher up on higher elevation on fourth zone. So here, this guy above him uses movement and he can't recycle it at all, he's just forced to build everything. And here, this is actually where he recovers a little bit. He actually forces this guy to completely build for him, tags him up on the backside, makes him really pressured and stops to try healing. And this is where he spots his loot, and this is where the harpoon is so useful. He harpoons, instantly drops his SMG, and then sets up a really nice rotate for himself just with crash pads. Crash pads are so useful. He didn't get any of his looting path earlier just because of lack of chests, and he gets in nicely here, swaps the metal as he should do. A big reason why Slove's endgames were so bad and he didn't ever get towards top 10 or top 5 situations where he'd actually get a lot of points is the fact that he never actually looked for a refresh properly. He always had Harpoon at his spot and he never actually capitalized on using it. In this situation here, he's basically second height on an extremely high layer. He gets in, conserves a little bit of mats. Obviously this is good for conserving mats, but he needs to get that impact for Harpoon. Everybody on his level right now has extremely good health and extremely good mats. They're not going to be a free kill, right? If I come over here to drone 3, down below, you'll see how many players there are congested down here, how many free picks you'll be able to find on the backside, play shambles. And in situations like that guy just dies right there. You can easily Harpoon it and get that loot. So as we swap back here, you're going to see as soon as second moving starts pulling, he's actually not going to be proactive enough on actually moving towards it. He's still looking for this pick. Messed up his timings where he's not even focusing on zone. Now here, about 5 seconds have gone by the time he moves. A lot of other people have got ahead of him, and he's not able to drop towards low ground to get that pick efficiently. Now he comes down, a bunch of players have already cut him off. Discuss his builds on the way down. And he's in a really bad situation map-wise in terms of trying to get a pick. Again here, he's trying to look for a pick with his Harpoon, but he's looking forwards instead of backwards. As you can see here, he's basically shambles, still trying to find that pick, but he's completely outmatched, so there's really not much you can do in this situation to find anything. This is something really good that our beginner does, actually keeping track of who opened that crate near them, as well as who's actually got any type of mythic loot near them, which could mean that they've got a pad as well. As well as the elevation here is pretty good for recycling this launch pad. Have to make a big mistake of trying to jump on the launch pad too early. I would say just 100% sit in your cone and use a chug splash. Let other people go for free, and then take it without taking the fight there. Something I talk about a lot is always making sure that you go diagonally on somebody's box here. This other player could easily box them up and trap them in. Going to first moving, a really big mistake that our beginner makes is deciding to drop low ground. This wouldn't be too bad if she dropped low ground towards an edge, then she could basically rotate along the side for free and not waste so many mats. You see here, they cut straight through the middle. You have to always decide an edge that you're going to play towards either left hand side or right hand side of zone. Now they have to cover so many angles and they don't know which way. Then it results in them falling towards backside here. You have to overbuild, go through a lot of mats, and this is really inefficient. You basically always want to make sure that you keep your mats as high as possible throughout first moving. Keep your mats count really high, and then that will allow you to get a refresh later on, or just mean that you don't have to go for a refresh as soon as possible. Because they're backside, as they come in here, it's a bit sketchy. There's so many players already in front of them looking for a pick. They get in, finally actually get into zone and box up. And things like that, right? Sure, they get in, but they had no time to look for a refresh, as well as working their Harpoon, right? If you have a Harpoon, you need to get in zones as early as possible and actually try to utilize it in some fashion. Coming to final zone, you're going to see what a beginner does to actually try and get another kill. They needed to clear out low ground in the situation. They really don't have enough mats to go up or do anything. They had to take this fight on low ground. But with 5 people left, probably the best timing would be to wait for somebody else to come down. Instead, they go up a layer, force a fight versus another person. Now they're forced down to fight the guy on low ground since they're out of mats. They drop down, a bunch of people spraying them from above and below, and they can't really do anything in that situation. Now, coming into moving zones, you're going to see how high Teak's mat cap is. That's the importance of him playing dead side early, as well as getting sent third. It means he doesn't have to move around too much. He can just conserve most of his mats. Also, you're going to notice is how many of his mats he saves just by using all of his crash pads here. He does several different types of rotates. Here he boxes up after using 2. He takes a little pause, goes for some shots. And again, he's going to set up exactly the same way and use all his crash pads on first moving. Something that we noticed in our stretch video, if you haven't checked that video, make sure to do so. It's how many movement items he'd gather throughout the game, either from keying or just off spawn loot route, right? And then he'd go on and use them all endgame, specifically in first moving, right? That would mean his mat cap is so high, allow him to go for a height take later on or something similar to that. Here, this is a nice little variation I saw Teak do, is he edits the cone just like this, then he creates this little bit of room up top here. Then as he throws his crash pad here, you're going to see how much like distance he gets with this. As he places that crash pad, he gets a lot of distance straight up in the air, allows him to exactly calculate and move at a diagonal, which is really useful. A big question people have in solos is how to find refreshes consistently. Teak is a perfect example of it here. You see how he's still got 6 builds remaining as he gets up on the zone. This will allow him to drop low ground and look for a box fight later on. But instead, he takes his time, gets a little bit more front side, and then looks towards the back on that choke point zone where people are getting forced in, right? Choose is forced by Storm behind him, as well as Teak in front of him to get the kill. And also very important to note is Teak covers off all of his angles here, right? He walls, floors, everything off, able to get all of the mats for himself and carry on moving. Going into final moving zone, I want to break down exactly what Teak did to get another impact kill, as well as set himself up for a nice height take later on, as well as just a bit of height awareness, which is really important to have in solos. This is basically the game that won Teak the grand finals on EU, and this is how he did it. Here he's completely shambles, no mats, he catches his player on low ground, he knows at this point in the game everybody else has no mats as well, so you can go for a play like this. He goes wide and storm, comes behind this player, catches them off, nice striking there to finish off, and look what he prioritizes. Straight away he gets those crash pads, make sure to drop his AR, it doesn't need, sets up the crash pad with the ramp right there, really nicely done. Yeah, again, uses his final little bit mats to make a little space forward towards zone, just the reload trick, just to make sure that he's fully reloaded. And then again, he sets up this crash pad with his final remaining couple of builds, crash pads deep into zone, and this is where the height awareness comes in, right? There's 4 players left, but if he can take high ground at this late in the game, he's most likely going to win. Catch pass up again. This is a really nice low ground shot onto Noah. And in this situation, this is honestly just good reflexes and nice shot by Teak. But this won him the whole tournament. 1v1 Mr. Savage, flick 220 pump. That was really nicely played. The thing is that you have to get those impact kills on backside, right? Teak was able to do that consistently throughout all of his games, and that made him place extremely high just because he finds those impact kills just when he needs them, when he's low mats, and he's able to find them towards backside, or just make a nice little storm play like he did there on lights at the end. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoy the content and learn anything new. These 3-level videos take me absolutely ages to edit, but it's definitely worth it for you guys who learn a lot from it. If you want to make sure to subscribe as well, and also follow my Twitch if you want to catch these video reviews live.